And for somebody who's been a star, stormtrooper, we're both, big fans.
Yeah, you may have picked up on the subtlety. I didn't want to fanboy, but I mean,
I didn't even notice it till now.
A little tip of the hat there to you.
So you've been on sets like Slasher House 2, and then you've been on these gigantic sets like Fury and, so many. Like, what's the difference? And what, for you, how do you act differently, or do you?
I refuse to behave differently from one set to the next. I think there'll be something inherently ingenuous, if disingenuous even, if you are a different person from your low budget indie to your multi-million pound feature. For me, I was brought up on the principles that it doesn't matter if it's the CEO or the cleaner, you treat everyone the same. So from my perspective, they're less personal in terms of the fact that on an indie, everyone intimately in terms of what time they get up and how they have their coffee and things like that. What time they get grouchy on set. Whereas you slide that across, you've got so many departments and such size, so many units on huge features. I mean, Star Wars is a perfect example. The Jakku set, the practical set that we were on in Abu Dhabi, the size was insane. We're talking, it was measured in miles, not meters. So like from that alone, that was incredible to work on, and to be on the salt flats where it just looks forever, and Skywalker Valley where Rey is introduced at the start of the film, being involved with that, because that scene itself took forever because it was so hot, and to try and get that sled to go down the side of the dune, that shot in itself took half a day, and it should have taken 1 minute. So yeah, for me, I don't change. I refuse to change. I would much rather everyone say the same thing about me on every single step than, oh no, he was like this over here, but then he went on this. And yeah, it's much easier just to be the same person always.
Just not authentic, yeah, if you're not.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, if you really love acting, you're doing the same thing. I mean, inside, whether you're doing a play in high school or, you're in a Star Wars film, inside it feels the same. But,
yeah, I mean, that's one of my biggest regrets is not, and it's the best regret to have, is to not have done something sooner. And that's my only thing about performing, acting, that sort of plethora of things, is I wish I just had the bottle to go into it sooner. That's it. Everything else, it's the best mistake I ever made. But for me, it was like, yeah, I didn't do this in high school, I didn't do this in college, didn't do this in university, and I didn't have that footing, that grounding of the amateur dramatics, or even, I mean, I'm very lucky in terms of who actually gave me acting guidance. But it was one of those where I didn't have a footing to begin with, and that's my only real regret about that, is not having it much sooner.
I was thinking about this. It's exactly 1 week before Christmas, and we're given the gift of having the Nelms brothers on the Oh Brother podcast. So welcome, Ian and Eshom. We appreciate you guys being here. I'll be honest, we thought maybe we were being catfished. We just weren't quite sure. We reached out to Chance. We left messages for Mel, even the Mondo boys that ghosted us. So
what? Really?
We're just thrilled that you guys are here, that you showed up.
I thought it was going to be James. I thought it was going to be James Lafferty for sure, but
that'd be a good interview too.
Oh,
Love
man,
when did
he's taken off.
When did he change his name from Nelms to Lafferty? When did that?
Yeah, we've got a lot of long-term collaborators. James Lafferty is one of them. Our director of photography, Johnny Derango. I mean, these are all what we consider third and fourth Nelms brothers at this point.
Yeah, Michelle Lang, she's produced everything since Lost on Purpose for us.
Yeah,
I mean, we
married her, so
I did. I married her.
Smart.
Everyone in the family.
That's a wise man.
Do you basically write the first pass and then you go over it, or?
I mean, it's a little different. I mean, and that one was different because I was just a maniac, and I was just like, "Fuck it, I'm writing something we can make and shoot tomorrow."
Right.
And it happens though, like where we'll brainstorm an idea. Typically, it's usually me that runs off and gets in a hurry to put something on paper, and then, but it's all Esh and I will come up with these ideas, we'll throw them back and forth, and then by the time I'm writing it, I can't even remember who came up with what. Put it down on the paper. I come back like the next night or two and I give it to him, or I email it to him, and he reads it and goes, "Okay, I'll give it back to you in like a day or two." And then he does his thing and he passes it back to me, and then I pass it back to him, and then pretty soon we got 15 to 20 pages we really like, and we got a starting point, and we both just kind of start diving in on scenes at that point.
As far as like stuff we're looking to get into,
Yeah.
I think we want to, we're looking to sort of bring our tone and genre into something that's a little different in genre. So I think we're looking at some Western ideas. We're looking at some sci-fi, some horror, things like that.
We've also got another script that we wrote that we really love that was adapted from a book. And we wrote it a couple of years ago, and we've just been making movies kind of, I wouldn't say back to back, but we've been really busy, whether we're writing on a script. Like that Carol Burnett project came out of nowhere and just struck us, and we're just, oh my God, we got to do this,
Yeah.
And same with Capture, we really dug that. So we had done a rewrite on it, and we were about ready to go march off and make that. And then Fat Man goes, and we're just like, okay, shit, we got to do Fat Man. Like it's wild.
Yeah. How many times in your life is the project you've been trying to get going for 14 years?
You got to.
Yeah.
And gotta do it.
Yeah, it's not Fat Man's not an easy pitch. So if we had the opportunity to go, we got to go.
Well, am I right? Did I read somewhere, given how long you guys were working on that, was Jack Nicholson originally someone you were thinking of for that character?
Our original cast was Jack Nicholson and Johnny Depp. Now, we didn't get them attached.
We never had that happen, but
we had it in our heads.
In your heads.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
But here you are, you're working with, a guy who's won an Academy Award for directing and Best Picture, and you're having him crawl around in like sub-zero snow.
Kind of a jack of all trades. I mean, it's, I think the question is what don't you do on Everyone Is Doing Great, first of all, but also we wanted to kind of learn a little bit more about just sort of how you, like, what was your journey into filmmaking? How did it all come to be?
Yeah, I can take you back to the very beginning. So when I was in high school, I was a huge just movie fan. I loved movies, and I loved like dramatic TV shows. Like Homicide: Life on the Street was my favorite TV show I've ever seen. And I would go to movies. It was my escape. My dad is a really hard worker, and everything was always about hard work. And it was just like there was no time to ever screw around. So my escape is I'd sneak off and I'd go to the video store and I'd grab a couple of movies. I'd find something that was shown at Sundance or South by Southwest, something that I'd really never heard of. Just take it back and just like devour it. So I was really into watching movies. It was sort of my escape. And in the process, I don't know, maybe I watched a few too many action movies, but I thought that I wanted to be a homicide detective. And so when my parents were asking me, you're going to go to college next year, what do you want to do? I was like, I think I'm going to go into law enforcement. And they're like, They're like, is there anything else that you'd want to do? Because I think they were starting to fear for my safety. And I don't know why I brought it up, but I was like, yeah, I'd love to make movies. But I lived in a town of 10,000 people in the middle of Illinois. I was like, who makes movies? Like, it's just not something you do. And to their credit, they're like, why don't you explore that? Take a look and see if it's something you can make a living at. So I did. I looked into it, and then I ended up going to Columbia College in Chicago, and I realized that maybe I just wanted to make action movies, not be an action star. So that was the path, and I went there to be a director. But in my first class, I met this man by the name of Ron Pitts. He was Chicago's first black filmmaker. He was there at the Democratic National Conventions, the riots in '68. He was there when Malcolm X was assassinated. He was on the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama. Like, in the museum there's a picture of a tear gas canister exploding in front of him while he's filming a Bolex on the bridge. Wow. So this guy became my mentor. Like, he taught me how to shoot. It became storytelling from behind the camera instead of working with the actors, which I had never realized before, how powerful the visuals are and how you can shape things just by where you put the camera, how you light things, how the camera moves. And I fell in love with it. And I said to myself, if I'm gonna leave school, it's better if I can have a skill that I've learned. Rather, being a director, like, you can't really show a whole lot. You can't tell, you can say, hey, I'm a director, But unless you have a lot of work, people aren't going to even take a look at it. If I can learn to shoot when I leave school, I can go get a job. You know, I can at least use my skills to do something to make sure I'm not living on the street till I do whatever I eventually want to do.
You talk a little bit about the experience on Fat Man, because, you know, we obviously we talked to those guys about it and loved that film.
Yeah.
I'm super surprised by what we saw.
Nice.
And been promoting the heck out of that. But what was your experience on that film?
I mean, that's an amazing project. Like they told you, that project was gestating for like 14 years. And so I'd read multiple incarnations along the way. And my joke to them, and I think I told them a couple times, maybe not as many as I should have because I thought it was funny, but I told them it was the long con. I was working with them until the point where we got to do Fat Man, and then I was done. Because I love that script. And I thought it would be a nice like high note to go out on. But,
Good night, everyone.
Yeah. So that project, like I said, it was amazing because it was around for a while. They had a couple start stops. We went up to Manitoba a year prior to us shooting. We scouted there. The movie was delayed a bit, and then we ended up going a year later. So even within that 14-year window, there was like, we're gonna do it. We're there. We're checking out a location, and then it's like, all right, we're gonna hit the pause button for a year. We'll, we get this taken care of, and we get back up. So
I'm curious, coming up on award season, like, I can't think of a more original script than that.
Yeah.
And I hope it gets some attention. I mean, like last year's winner was Parasite.
Right.
And there's some similarities in the fact that it's so shocking what happens next. You think you're going one way and all of a sudden you're just shocked into another scenario. But
right.
Like I said, we really, and I listened to the commentary on it because I got a copy of the Blu-ray out of Redbox.
Oh, nice.
It's coming out
I believe it's
next week.
Right?
26th, yeah.
26th.
26th.
So I don't think Dan's heard the commentary.
Not yet. I went to try to get it at Redbox, and it was out of stock, which was great.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's doing good. So congrats on Everyone Is Doing Great.
Thank you.
My God, we binged it immediately and just, huge fans of it. And we had just interviewed, your longtime friend, Johnny Durango. And
yes,
when we talked to him, you were the only person that he brought up from the show.
Really? That's not nice.
Well,
there's so many great people.
I know.
He talked about the guys, of course, but
yeah.
We were asking him, Dan asked him something about, it must be really funny on the set. How do you not crack up? And he said there's only one time that he actually ruined a scene, and it was with you when you were filming. And actually, no, when she was on the sofa with the two guys. We don't want to give away anything.
Yeah,
People haven't seen it.
What's been your favorite, of all these series and things that you've done, even the films, I guess, like what so far stands out? What's been your favorite piece of work?
I think it's so hard. I've the 3 seasons I did on Stand Against Evil were so special. That character was so much fun. Plus we got to shoot in Atlanta, and it was like summer camp every summer, just going. There's something so cool about going to a place and shooting, and really being able to like I could dive into it. I didn't have to worry about coming home and like this and that, and life. You could really just be there with your castmates, which I was fortunate enough to get along with. I loved doing that show. I really miss Atlanta so much.
How was it working with John C. McGinley? That must have been, God, he's been in every movie you could think of.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's great. I think the friendships that I got out of that show with Janet Varney and Nate Mooney and Dayton Gould, we still are all on group chat.
That's cool.
I feel like every project I do, I'm just collecting friends. That's really all I want to do, guys. Just want to have big birthday parties. That's all.
Friends that pay.
That's why I came to Hollywood. I just want to have big birthday parties. But yeah, I love it. But I most recently, I think being Brittany on the Neighborhood, I think they've written her in a way that I can really showcase a lot of different layers. I've often played, where roles are written, they don't get to have a lot of depth. So, yeah.
Well, I would hope to see you back on that because, no offense to the rest of the cast, but it's another one where I feel like you're sort of stealing those scenes.
Don't say that.
I know, it's really funny. I know. You're gonna hurt
It's very collaborative, I will
out.
say. Like they're, I don't care. That's very nice of you. But they're all so funny. They're so wonderful to work with. So they make it very easy.
I'm from Denver, Colorado. I grew up with Sheldon's Pizza, and then of course Chuck E. Cheese, and then my kids, and then I have two 5 and 7-year-old little boys, and I've taken them to it too, and they draw the creatures for me, and Willie and the gang. They've seen little clips and stuff. So what is it with these kids? They get creeped out, but we also like it, right? And so I was always keen about that. I think it's like the ambivalence. You're this little kid, you're staring up at this huge furry robot with these eyes and mouth. I think the eyes and mouth are a key. And then
Right.
Ken Hall, who created the creature suits, he put pulleys in the suit, and so you can move the eyes and mouth.
Okay.
And I love how that happens. And then you're playing the audio, and it's not syncing to the eyes and mouth. There's just something off-putting there. And so trying to doing the research, it was so funny because like before even the movie, I took the family to Chuck E. Cheese, and I was like, I can't go alone or I'll look like a pervert and I'll be escorted out by the cops. So I was like, you guys got to come with me. I know it's the bad food, but you got to come with me. So we went, and I was just watching like the kids' birthday parties with my family, by the way. So it's like, can't do that by alone. And just seeing these kids, and like they'd come up and approach the thing, but then they'd be kind of nervous and whatever. And I was like, we got to tap into that, And so I felt we got it in this movie. That kind of essence of what I always said it was like a colorful dark movie, right? It's a dark subject matter. We're taking this kids thing and kind of turning it on its head, but it's a colorful movie, especially visual with the pastels and things like that. Because that's what these places are, So
Right.
how do we make it that, And I wanted to make it otherworldly too, like we're like in this spaceship of Willy's Wonderland. Like there's nothing else exists except Willy's, So we worked on doing, I did like a 70-page shot list for the movie. So before shooting, I just had every shot for every scene. I call it the Willy's Bible. And I think I got about 85 to 90% of that done. And I worked with my DP, Dave Newbert, fantastic. And so we did a thing called Rage Cage or Cage Rage. When he would fight the animatronics, we would shoot like 18 frames per second on the cameras and do the shake.
Yeah.
And we would take flashlights and light up into the lens and have these lens flares, these cosmic lens flares coming. So we call that like Rage Cage. So we just want to do something different and original. We had 20 days to shoot.
You had some backlighting there too, right?
Yeah.
Because there was some glowing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a 20-day shoot. Because that was
days.
one of the things I was wondering. Because Nick Cage, he's always working, so I imagine his schedule's pretty tight.
Oh,
Did you have him for like 20 days and that was it?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
He loved the script when he read it, and he was almost on this movie for a year wanting to make it. So from script that he read to when we shot it was almost a year.
Wow.
But he had that little time to do the film, and he really wanted to do it. So thank God it worked out. But yeah, he was on point every day, man. He was just what an incredible partner to make a movie with. He's just a great guy. We never had one creative disagreement. We saw the movie eye to eye. Yeah, he spoiled me really, working with other actors.
See, our goal was to morph it into an appreciation night because like a movie like Willy's, like, I don't know if you check out Rotten Tomatoes. It's getting really in Amazon, all the feedback. The
so
fans
happy you guys
really enjoy it.
So happy.
Yeah.
That makes me, and I made it for us. I'm a film geek, man. I collect I have my old Star Wars figures. I collect Sideshow and Hot Toys. I've got my steel books and Blu-rays here. I've got a Tron. I'll show you, man. I have a Tron arcade here.
Mike.
I got my Vader helmet cooking up there.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, look at this. I'm a physical media junkie, man. I got my Blu-rays and steel books.
Oh, nice.
Oh my God, you and Mike are simpatico here.
Yeah. If you take a peek behind me, this is just one wall.
This is nothing. Yeah.
Physical media rules, right?
I love it.
I'm like, you know what? I see some of these movies and I'm like, I have no interest in seeing them. I'd rather watch something I have there. Yeah. Okay, call me closed-minded, call me old, call me what you want. I don't care. Life is too short. You know, I'll let my kids, if they tell me something's cool, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll check it out, you know. But Willie's was a throwback to the 80s, the movies that I loved growing up. I hope you guys love them too. You
Absolutely.
know? That's what I made it for.
Yeah, one last thing I wanted to add. Do you feel gypped at all because you didn't get the theatrical release because of the COVID? And, you know,
that's a good question.
It changes.
Yeah, it changes. We are in a changed world. The original idea was to go to Toronto Film Festival, Midnight Madness. That'd have been awesome. We're going to have a big premiere. We're talking about releasing in October, Halloween. So all those are out the door. But with what's happened, seeing my kids, my teenagers doing a 30-friend watch party was just cool, right?
Nice.
And so evolve or die, and this is the way it is.
Right.
I'm not going to cry over it because people have lost their lives, right? Mm-hmm. And look at me, I was in the hospital, man. I was this close. So for me, it's like, you know what? My ails, my problems that Willie wasn't in a theater mean nothing compared to what's happened. So I just put those aside. But I hope, you know, I did make it for us to go to a theater together. I was looking forward to Comic-Con and shaking hands with the fans and high-fiving and talking like this, you know, live and in person. You know?
Yeah.
Nick was going to do the panels, and I had this whole plan. And so, things change, but evolve or die, and this is the way it is. And I think we've done pretty good for this movie coming out digitally and, you know, in this day and age.
To make sure we bring a professional self-tape to the table and hope that it gets seen, and instead of being able to walk into the room and say, hey, here's where I am and here's my energy, and
exactly
it's so different. And I don't know what the chances are. I think I did a good job, but a lot of maybe luck that you got into the right hands, and I got a job during the pandemic, but I don't know what it's going to be like after I'm done shooting. It's a little scary.
Yeah.
And
what are you doing right now? Like, are you working on something right now, or?
Yeah, I tend to I'm gonna go back and shoot another episode of Walker in a couple weeks.
Oh, good.
And so I have that to look forward to. I'll be going to Austin, which is my new favorite city, and I shoot the finale of SWAT, so I haven't been in the season until this time around. So it'll be fun. It's been a long time since I've been on that set.
Yeah, that's cool. I was sort of wondering that because of how some of these things ended up, not to give anything away, but
we don't
like Walker, and I know you teased that out on your Instagram too, like maybe it's not it and I'll be back or whatever. So
when I got the job, I knew I was written into another episode, so that was good for me, that job security. But you wouldn't think that I'd have the opportunity to come back after that. But
what about, is there any updates on the Hulu series?
Everyone
as far as this season 2?
I don't know. I'll have to talk to Michelle or Steven and see if I can get the inside scoop. I heard that it's getting a lot of good attention.
It is.
I don't know how to find that information. Oh, well, I guess I should just ask. But I don't know how to find that information. I know I've watched it over and over again.
Yeah, as of late.
I don't usually do that with my stuff.
Do you have a preference as far as, you know, TV over film, or just, you know, speaking a little bit to the difference in that experience?
Yeah. Well, this was a unique experience because it was shot in a different way than I think I've ever shot. Very indie style, small crew, fun. You know, you're with your friends. It's so fun. I don't have much of like real film experience to compare it to, but I feel comfortable doing TV. I like the pace that TV moves. I like the twists and turns and the longevity of the thought of being on a show that lasts
Right.
longer
Yeah.
than a month or
Plus,
two.
it's steady. It's
Yeah.
steady work.
Yeah,
And-
the goal
and-
is to be on a hit show.
Yeah, and with films, it's a lot of sitting around and waiting, and
Yeah.
you know they got to do the lights, and you know they get so much more hung up on it because they have so much more time as far as
do.
getting it done.
I think the cool thing about maybe doing a film, like a real film, is the time that you would actually be able to spend on a good, or all your scenes, but you know, a really good scene, making that work. I mean, sometimes when you have one or two takes and then they turn around and it's like, what, was that good? Like you need like validation.
Yeah.
But I feel like film directors spend hours on scenes, and I think that would be exhausting, but so fun. You would get the best performance you could get out of you.
Yeah.
You've played a lot of different types of characters too. Is there something, you know, is there some role that you haven't, or some type, you know, I'm thinking like, you know, from criminals to temptress to like, you know, all kinds of things. Is there sort of a dream project or role?
I'd love to be the lead of a really good comedy, or an ensemble cast, you know, something that is about friendship and real life. And I know that's all been done before, but I don't know, I really love like Sex and the City and Friends, and I don't know, the TV shows that I could just put on and watch over and over and over again. I want to be part of that world. I want to tell stories about, you know, those things.
I think that's what I took away from Everyone Is Doing Great. It's that it's
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, I can tap into that emotion or that experience. I really feel like they captured that incredibly well.
That's so cool, because that was actually my worry, was that they were going to be in such a small bubble of a world as struggling actors that I wouldn't know. I didn't know like what was relatable out in the outside world for people, the audience. But it's that friendship, it's those relationships, it's that life happens.
You're still traveling around the country or the world related to this? Yeah.
I haven't gone to Florida, but I've had clients who fly me to the south of France, to the Hamptons, to New York, you know, to different places. And that's how I wrote the book. So the book, A Mermaid's Guide, Empower Your Child in Water and Life, I wrote when I was on the road, because when I'm at home, I now have 3 kids, but I didn't have a lot of time to sit there and write it. I would write it between lessons when I have gaps, and then for years. And then I finished it when I was on the road, and was able to like really, because I'm by myself in a hotel room, and I would teach one child 2 lessons a day, and then the rest of the day I could write the book. It was really such a great gift from the universe to have clients who fly me out and buy out my days, and then I can use that time to create a mermaid's guide.
Now, is that the call that you're talking about?
Yeah, the call.
Talk a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's a short film, not a feature?
Yeah, that's a short.
Okay.
But it's going to be, I wrote it as a feature. That's another thing I did when I was teaching a lot in the Hamptons. I spent one summer just obsessed. I hate horror films. Like, I can't watch them. They're so scary to me. So I spent a summer just being like, and when I hate something, I'm like, why do I hate this? Okay, there's got to be, I have to figure this out. I can't just go along hating horror films. So I got obsessed with like breaking down the beats of horror films and like really seeing the artistry in a really good one.
Yeah.
Being like, okay. So I plotted out, what was it? Oh gosh, it's so scary. And I have baby brain a little bit, so I'm not going to remember the name. The Conjuring.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
So scary. So scary. Like, I think one of the producers is a friend of Ian and Ash, so we went to like the premiere, like a test screening or something, and he was sitting right behind me, and I just sat like this the whole time, like with my head buried, and I'm like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. And he's like, no, he probably loved that. You're like his audience. You were so scared. So I watched that and break down the beats and understand, like, God, it's such artistry. When you can do a horror film well, like to create tension, to create little hooks, to create misleads, like, there's like, I think a clock that they show and you're like, ooh, what's that clock gonna be? You know, it's such suspense, you know, it can be done really well. And then there's really, you know, ones that you're like, okay, this is just a slasher, you know, doesn't have like, you know, all this stuff. So the call was me dabbling in something that I was scared of, because if you're scared of something, same with the kids in the pool, if you're scared of it, we have to explore it. Like, kids are scared to sink, so I make them try to sink and I help them through it. So I was scared of scary movies, so I made myself go in and do a scary movie. And then in the film, it's really about my biggest fear of having, you know, your kid disappear and not be able to help them. So that's what the call is about. It's like,
it's funny because there's elements in small town crime and Fat Man that are very scary, almost like horror-ish kind of things, you know. And somebody says, what do you do as a producer, an executive producer? What specifics can you tell us about that?
So I think there's different kinds of producers, and people always get confused because there's the producers who connect some bigger items. They'll say, hey, I have a money person, and I'll connect the money person to a production company, and then they'll get producer credit, which is you know, if you have money, that's really hard aspect of filmmaking to have. There's the producers who know talent and can get you financing connected through talent. That's a different talent set as a producer. There's all different kinds of producers. For me, I'm a boots on the ground for the most part, although some of the projects now that I'm doing, I'm taking a little bit more of a connective role, like, hey, I have this person, I can link you with there, and I'll be an EP on it because I don't have time in my year to drop everything and do boots on the ground producing. But say for the Nelms brothers or for the TV show that I did, I'm there to protect. I'm like the Lorax for the creator, and I protect the vision, because I think what can happen is the creatives sometimes can get pitted against the producers who get a bad rap because they're trying to protect the money and make a film, and there are great producers, but what will happen is if you have no bridge there, when there's a money problem, when there's problems, the first thing to go are your days. They'll say, okay, we're going to chop days. So one of the things that I do will come in and say, okay, let me dive into this and see, again, I'm just a problem solver. What other options can we do? What else can we pull? Same with scheduling. I do a lot of the scheduling, and when someone says, oh, we can't, say for Small Town Crime, Anthony Anderson is very busy, we can't fit him in, and I'll say, okay, hold on. And then I do I spend a lot of time to solve the problem so we get the actor that the directors want and not just take no for an answer. You know, we really try and run sets that there are no no's. We all try to solve problems together, and if we can't do one thing, it's like, what's the other option in there?